now starting with our second panel with defender Romeo and striker Diaz. Again, we'll popcorn in the room and then we'll head to Zoom, so whenever the floor is ready. Whoever wants to start.
Okay, Rocco, I'll start with you. This is a team that you've been with for a while and you've seen the team grow. Obviously this season you saw a lot of new additions come in, but you were still there as a presence, as a leader, at the heart of the fence. What are some of the biggest growths that you've seen from the team this season, and maybe some of the next steps that you're wanting to see from maybe yourself and also the players around you?
Yeah, I think this year we started off the season very well, and for myself, I thought there was a lot of promise that this would be the year to make history for the club, and to be the first expansion team to make the playoffs in their second year. So I think like a big key for us moving forward just be like consistency. There's moments throughout the whole season where we'd be in really good periods, whether it be at home or on the road, and then we hit a difficult point of, like any team or any sport, there'd be injuries or illnesses or suspensions. So that was something that we had to deal with. But I think a lot of the young guys really stepped up this year, big time. Like guys like James, Grady, Mateo, they played big roles for us coming into games or even starting games. So to see kind of like those younger guys, push us veteran players forward and to move stronger, can only benefit the club in the best way possible. But it's football sometimes, so there's definitely highs and lows in the game. But it's very promising considering the group that we have and the direction that the club wants to move forward in.
I guess a two-part question, one for each. Looking at the two facets of the game of defense and attack, which you both represent, we saw, starting with you, Rocco, defensively, that you guys got some more players in. You got Paris, you got Allen, you got quite a few defenders in. And for a lot of the time, you looked quite good defensively, but there were still these moments where it felt like defense made some uncharacteristic mistakes that cost goals, eventually cost points, and in the end, it's what cost the playoff spot. What do you think that the defensive part of the game needs to improve, maybe even on the mental side, that leads up to this kind of mistakes?
Well, I think you said it. I think the mental side of the game, being switched on for 90 minutes straight and 90 minutes on, football is a game where it can be decided off individual mistakes or it can be decided on, tactical brilliance. So, myself as a defender, reviewing the games back after every game and seeing the goals we conceded, I can say most of them were from errors that were from ourselves, and we kind of shot ourselves in the foot on that aspect. Myself being a central defender, I always go into games thinking keep it at zero as best and as long as possible to give the likes of Wero and even our other attacking players to get the goal and take care of business up front. But these are all part of learning experiences. Like I'm still young as a central defender, but I know I'm going to make mistakes and I know I'm going to keep growing, and these are only things that I'm going to learn from. So, when these mistakes happen, you just pick up the guy beside you and, make sure that, you have their back through thick and thin and, to try and bounce back. The beauty about football is that there's always another game. This year, we kind of ran out of games and couldn't cross over the finish line in certain situations. So for me, that's the disappointing factor of it. But, it's mostly just to give these guys the opportunity to put the ball in the back of the net.
And speaking of that, Wero, you personally had a good season. You were in the running for a top goal scorer up until pretty much the end. But overall, the team didn't score maybe as many goals as they wanted. I think it was one less than last season. How do you sort of maybe work on that as a team, yourself as a leader, the big striker up top, to kind of help the team score more goals? What does it come down to in terms of, is it tactics, is it individuals, or is it something else that kind of leads to maybe the team not being able to click to score those goals in important matches?
I think it's kind of what Rocco said. It's just like the mental part of defensive midfielders and strikers, like from the goalkeeper to all the way to the strikers. I think sometimes you need to build that confidence, and in times we were missing that confidence of like winning and keep that strike. So I think that's football. Sometimes just hard to get that strike, and sometimes hard to get that kind of luck. But I think we did a great job, like in working hard and trying to do the best that we could. But sometimes football's unlucky, so I think it's just like trying to reduce the amount of like mistakes and learn from those mistakes for the next season. So I think it's just that we have a great team, and we can create chances, and we can defend well, create chances, and score goals. I think it's just the mental and the mental part and building up confidence.
Guys, just in the second half of the season, home form was a big I guess concern. The home wins were hard to come by. What do you kind of strike that up as? Because to start there, it felt like at home everything was clicking, and then something hit. Is it just something where is it circumstances, little things? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, honestly, I always like in this time, like the CPL made a post about everyone's trajectory throughout the season, and for me personally, that was like really, really tough to watch. Just considering how well we were doing up until I think like week 14, 15, I think we were second or third position, and then seeing the dip happen, and it was just like a steady decline. Personally, like. I don't really know what happened. I think, the vibe in the group, like, we had like injuries, we had suspensions, we had players in and out of the group, change of lineups. So there's a bunch of variables that occurred, and I think, us players obviously hold responsibility to that aspect because we're the ones on the field playing. But, I think there's a lot more that goes into it, and frankly, like for me, like it was just very disappointing. And I think like as a team, we're all just gutted. Seeing the playoff performances from the past couple of games, like it's just like, man, like we could easily be in those games. Seeing how we performed, especially the last quarter of the season, I feel like if those ties were wins and we take care of business, and we could easily be in the playoff position. But like you said, like that dip that happened, it goes way before all that. So it just honestly just disappointing, and frankly, like I'm still trying to figure out what happened, honestly.
Same. I think we were in the playoff spot for almost the entire tournament, and probably at the end we did like those mistakes, like ties that should have been wins. We lost points over there, so I think it's just like, as I said before, just trying to, for the next season, try to reduce the amount of mistakes that we do, like in all of from the goalkeeper to the strikers, and I think we'll have a better shot like next season, because I still think we have a great team. We have like top players here, of course, like young and experienced players, and in the mix I think we're like top team. So I think it's just that build up confidence, reduce the amount of mistakes, and be more focused on the next season.
Well, I asked this to Callum and Vasco, but another challenge of playing in this league is you get teams 4, 5, 6 times with the Canadian Championship, etc. And it's pretty unique, and it can be tough when it gets to game 4, 5, 6, and you're used to how each other plays. How much of a challenge was that, especially you guys started hot, and maybe guys around the league are keeping a closer eye, they're seeing what you're doing, and maybe you kind of lost that element of surprise. How do you adjust to that next year, knowing that, okay, in a league like this, that aspect is something to be considered?
Yeah, for sure. We play a lot against each other, so that part, yeah, for sure has to do with what happened. But also, I think we need to take care of business in the field. Like it's the same for everyone, right? Like we can also like watch the other teams and know how they play, but I think it's just like taking care taking care of the business in the pitch, and we made mistakes, so it's just like trying to reduce the amount of mistakes that we made.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, it's just not being comfortable, and I wouldn't even say like we ever felt comfortable, honestly, but with the repetitive amount of times that we play each team, maybe at times we felt like, okay, we play this team today, we know we beat them last time, we might feel it's a lighter game, or we have more time to rest throughout the week. Then the opponents were like, okay, maybe they'll be more tired, But I think it's just like not being complacent about whoever you play on the day, because I've always said like this league is a tough league, and I think the more that this league grows and improves, and the more people that know about the league and there's more eyes on it, it's just going to become more competitive. And I think this season, honestly, was probably one of the more competitive seasons where at any point in the season it was so close between the bottom half and the top half. So yeah, that's what I would think.
Couple questions. You're both leaders within the group, especially on the field. We don't get to see everything on the field. I mean, Rocco, you're a younger leader. Wiro, you're an experienced leader in the team. But just wondering if you can talk about what it's been like this year, playing those roles as the club more and more is bringing more and more young players in who need leaders, people to look up to on and off the pitch, whether it's the professionalism aspect of things or just the what it means to be a professional footballer. How has that been for you guys in the roles you play? How do you see that playing out in the club, and how obviously there's positives to that for the club, but how have you seen the project grow in that way?
Yeah, I think it's good. Of course, we have that responsibility because we have like more time in the CPL, in this league, and to try to help like the young kids and the young guys who are coming. Like here, for example, just an example, Grady, he's 16 years old, so try to make an example so he can learn and try to push him and help him to develop his game. And I think, as Rocco said before, like all the young guys stepped up this season, and I think they did great. You can notice like James, Cameron, Grady, DJ, Mateo, like in moments that we needed them, I think they responded really well. But I think just like keep on doing that, just like keep on working from the experienced guys like to the young kids all year, and to be 100% every single time, every single day. I think that's the mentality and that's the culture that we want to build here in this club, and I think we're in a good way. Of course, and the results didn't show that, but we know the work we put in like every single day. So I think that's a good part, and we are growing as a team. So I think for the next season we'll be way better, and if we keep pushing each other every day, I think we will grow even faster.
Yeah, I think for us veteran players, it's just continually setting the precedent and the standard for the group. The likes of having Callum as a captain, he's, and like also Aguero and Caden, like they're CPL champions, so they know what it's like to win and to win at this level. So, having them with their expertise and their experience, sets the standard for in my opinion, the locker room. If we don't reach that standard, then we're kind of already defeating ourselves before going into the battle. And speaking about the young players in particular, they just need to like get into the habit of being good professionals every day. Showing up early, staying late, taking care of your body, just doing the consistent things over and over and over. And that's just how you build good habits. You look at some of the best players in the world. Everyone has skill, but what's the difference is their mentality. It's like, how can I do this for longevity aspect? So obviously I've been in the league for quite amount of time now, and I like to think we've been fairly successful in the league. So when it's helping out these younger guys, it's just building the precedence of just being consistent, because over time, like, the game will give back to you.
We have time for 2 more questions in the whole room. So.
My last one is, we've been talking a lot about team and team performance. For you guys as individuals, what's been a highlight or what's been good for you in the season as an individual player? Obviously, Rocco, a number of massive defensive performances in the year. You scored a couple of goals, which is obviously very nice. And for where, you have your goals to choose from or whatever, but maybe it's not a goal. What's a highlight for you when you look back on 2024?
Me personally, it'd probably be scoring my first VFC goal. I think I really wanted to get one last year, but for me personally, being one of the day one members, that was like a kind of a nice thing to happen in my career, and for the club, having such a good support from my teammates, from the coaching staff, from the business, and even from the ownership, that was just really nice to have, and that was kind of my way of giving back as well. And then also, I think a big highlight for us was the BC Derby. Beating a team 5 times consecutively. You don't really hear that quite often in sports in general. So I think that was a big positive to have for us, and kind of a memorable thing to have for this season. And yeah, like I love derby games. Those are the times and the games you want to be in as a professional. So I think those 2 things would be my most memorable moments.
I hear same, like try to score more goals for the next season, try to win a Golden Boot, playing for VFC, of course. I wouldn't love nothing more than being champion with VFC. So if I can achieve my personal goal, that would be awesome. But I would love, and I'd rather be champion with VFC. So I think that's my main.
Is there any highlights from this past year that you like? Good memories from this last year?
Well, yeah, for sure. The derby part, the derby's games, all the wins at home with your people, with your fans, building that community. I think that's huge. And yeah, for sure, all the goals that I contribute to the team.
Okay, last question for the room.
Is there a different feeling when you guys versus Pacific rather than a different team? Is there something that you guys look forward to in that game rivalry against them, more than other teams?
I think naturally there's always going to be that bigger feeling towards a derby game, just because it's a sense of pride in the province. So not to say that we underestimate or undermine or don't prepare the same way against other teams, but take Barcelona and Real Madrid, not to say that Barcelona looks at all the other games differently, but when they play Madrid, they know it's going to be a big game just because of how great the rivalry and the history is. So even though us being a second-year team in the league, we're, writing that history for 5-10 years later. So that's how I would go about it. But, I think for us as a club and as a team and as players, we go into every game preparing to come away with 3 points, whether it's at home or on the road.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rocco. Thank you, Wero, and have a great off season.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.